in the hothouse.
Yay!
Yay!
I'm glad to be here, but mostly I'm glad to see our friend Mally. Where's
I
Mally?
actually put it on my calendar and blow dried my hair for the occasion. So there you go.
We are so happy to have you here, and because our theme today is inspiration, because you are a source of a lot of inspiration for us.
Oh,
I don't even know how you. Oh my gosh.
It's so lovely to see your faces again. I've missed my posse.
I know,
really.
we miss having you in Boston. That is for sure.
Yeah, I missed you both.
Exactly.
I missed you both, but there's so much history, and you've been such a source of inspiration. But I want people to know exactly a little bit more about you, where you were born and how you came to this country, that whole transition.
So as you can hear, I'm South African. I was born in Cape Town, and I left South Africa, moved to London, which to me is like the mothership. London is probably the most perfect city that you could ever choose. I mean, it has everything. So I was, and it was the Lady Di days in London. I had 2 little kids and moved to London, and then I started dipping my toe into going into Colfax and Fowler and Osborne and Little, all on the King's Road. You guys have probably been on tour around there. And I just have always loved interior design and pattern. And I decided that I was going to start this just little business working with friends. And then my life took a turn in a very good direction. And I ended up switching from the mean husband to the nice husband. It was kind of dramatic.
I like that classification.
I married my old friend from way before. I think you've read so many romance novels that turn out to be like this. And then the only problem was that the new nice husband is in the high-tech industry, and he was like, oh, we have to move to Boston for 2 to 3 years. It'll be fine. We'll keep our house in London. And here I am, whatever it is, 32 years later in the US.
Wow. Can I ask you this? When you said you loved pattern. When did you realize that pattern and color sparked your interest? Like, how young were you? Did you see it in your childhood?
Yes. So, you know, it's funny, when I read stories of other creatives, like I was reading Daniel Rollins was always in trouble at school because she was staring out of the window and dreaming. And old days, if you were a dreamer of a child, you really got into trouble at school. I hope it's not like that today, but I would squiggle on my workbooks. And make patterns on my workbooks when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
That's what enchanted me. And, you know, the rest of school, I found very, very boring. And there were certain things that it's so interesting. I think you're born the sort of person that you are. What did I love? Biology. I loved learning about flowers and animals. And insects. And I loved language. I loved English. So, I mean, I was a fully formed person, even though I ended up, you know, working in a stockbroking firm. I do not know how. You know, we were sort of channeled into these places that our parents and our teachers thought were the right jobs to do, you know, the right person to be, not a dreamer that, you know, makes little patterns on a piece. But obviously, you know, whatever it is just boils up to the top, whether you like it or not.
We've all seemed to come full circle back to eventually that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, but you know, actually, I just thought about a very important point, and that is that you can only get to that point and you can only become full circle if you live in a environment where you are given the freedom to express yourself. Right. And if I had stayed in that marriage, I would have been
husband
fine.
Marriage.
Yeah. There was no encouragement. And also I had to be a society-wide. And so I would have been absolutely fine. I would have had like a lot of jewelry and lots of Chanel suits, but I would never have evolved into a creative. It wouldn't, no, it was always there, but it would never have been allowed to come out into the light. And so I think that is a very big lesson to people that, you know, if you want something, you have to go after it, because if you don't fix your life for yourself, nobody else is going to come along and do it for you. And sometimes it's scary, but how do you optimize your dreams? If you don't put the right pieces into motion. Oh, I've got so deep so quickly.
Oh, I love it.
No, I think already, I was just thinking, wow, this is going in a great direction.
Well, I meant I mean, you know, that's just real good advice, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, really I mean, you don't have to go out on a limb and you know, put yourself into a dangerous or disadvantageous position. But sometimes you just have to put you first. And as women, you know, especially me, born in the 50s, that wasn't really offered to us. We had to figure that out for ourselves. And, you know, I think that's our job, to pass that on to, I see that as my next piece of my professional life, is to pull up young people that are behind me, to just, why do they have to go through all the lessons that we went through? Just a little bit of wisdom. That you can sort of pass down to ease their journey a little bit more.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, right.
So now you're an interior designer. Here and you're working.
I am.
And so tell me about that piece of your life. I mean, did it bring you?
In a way, COVID really helped an aspect of the interior design work. Actually, the work world, which is that stigma of not being there for a job has gone. Because we all learned to work remotely. And, you know, especially for my hubby, this house that I'm sitting in now was a weekend house that we bought because he was so bored of me being so mean about Boston weather. I just, you know, it's funny, you're okay with it for 25 years and then one winter comes along and it just finished me. Anyway, we came down here way before everything went crazy in South Florida. And we bought this house for, you know, family weekends and holidays. And it's very comfortable. It's sort of a bungalow on the north end of the island. it's not fancy at all, but we came down here and we were like, this is great, actually. And so did about 1 million other people of our age do the same thing. But especially for my hubby, who, was fighting that traffic. His office was in next to MIT. His commute on the Mass Pike could be, an hour and a half long, doing 17 miles into town. And I don't know what it is about men and traffic, but they just take it personally, like a personal affront that the traffic's bad. So he'd come home like, oh, such a drama queen about it. And when we came down here, he was like, I am never, ever sitting in the traffic again in my life.
Good for him.
You can send as many Zoom calls along to me. I'll do them all day long in my shorts. But that was life-changing. And then the other thing was that we had a terrible flood in our house just outside of Boston. And my office manager, Kristen, walked down there and she was like, is it raining? That terrible, is it raining question. And so that sort of preempted us saying, look, we really can't leave a big old house sitting with no people in it. And it's a waste. This houses should have people living in them. And you guys were at that house. It was such a family house. And it was sort of sad, actually, that this leak had sprung on one winter night and it had been running all weekend. So a young family bought the house and, they've got little kids and dogs running around. So that was a good, but then I had to figure out what to do with my office because Kristen was in the au pair / office / whatever, over the garage. And so we found a little office space in Concord and we set it up together. And actually working remotely is great. It really is. We know each other very well. And I have lots of opportunities down here to source fabrics and interesting interior design things. We talk the same language and I see my clients as much as I probably would if I was there, and I have clients down here and it's been fine, absolutely fine.
That's great. It's such a, I think during COVID, we all found a different way of doing business.
Yes.
Some people couldn't wait to get back to in person. Other people saw it like your husband. I don't really need to do that anymore. The commuting and the schlepping around.
He just
Zoom.
Right. Especially at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back to the basement. So 10 years ago, I'm always bad with years and dates and numbers now.
They're so irrelevant. But anyway, so yes, when are you saying when I decided to start my fabric line?
Exactly. How did you know? You're like the great Karnak. That's exactly right.
Well, 10 years, I know that it was 10 years ago because the legend on the side of my fabrics says 2008. And it took about 4 years to get everything up and running. But it's just such an interesting year. That I brought out my India collection because do you remember what happened in 2008? I mean, the wheels fell off.
Talk about timing.
It was absolute perfection of timing. So yeah, you guys probably came out to the studio in Great Barrington. Did you ever come out to one of our little events?
Yes.
Peter Pisano.
Yes.
Yeah. And I see.
Is how can you see this? I just screened you. This is your fabric right here.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Great. I went out. Peter Pisano was printing some fabrics for a client of mine. And so I had a bit of a conversation with him, and the client of mine worked for the WGBH for this old house. And he was so fascinated that these fabrics were printed in Great Barrington because, nobody had a little fabric line. It was Colfax, Manuel, Canvas, it was all the big names.
Right.
Now, there's so many small little enterprises, but in those days, it was unusual. So I ended up going out to Great Barrington, meeting Peter Pisano, and we just took to each other. And I showed him these little watercolors I'd done after being in India with my sister. And he was adamant. He was like, don't start a fabric line. It is honestly, that is my advice to you. Do not start a fabric line.
Wow.
But I hate that sort of advice. So as my husband will attest. So I was like, well, I'm doing it anyway. So
Yes. That was
anyway.
probably very encouraging for you, Mally, right? When someone says don't do something, you're like,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm a Capricorn lady. I always know what's best. Ask my children.
Right,
Drives
right.
them nuts.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, your fabrics are beautiful. I mean, I think that what's so powerful about you is your ability to mix pattern and to layer pattern in a way that always looks so beautifully collected and almost, like organically done. It's like not everybody can do that. And you can layer in pattern and color like nobody I know. It's quite incredible.
I think it comes from fearlessness, because when you've had a sort of a complicated life like mine, I'm not fearful about the little things. My dad died when we were all very, very young, and I was in this household with my mum, who was 32 years old, 4 kids, and we just always made do, and we still had a good time, and we never felt poor or deprived in any way at all. So I just feel, putting a check with a stripe and a print of a flower, what's the worst that can happen? Your client might not like it or whatever.
Right.
So I don't second guess. I know what big problems are. And, that layering, I sort of go into a kind of a very trance-like state. And it's let my subconscious suggest what the layers are going to be. And I think unfiltered interior design is so much more joyful than this highly created, curated path that we went on for a while.
Right.
That 2 gray sofas and a coffee table interior design just was dreary and not fulfilling in any way, but I
Totally
see a
agree.
march away from it now.
Yeah, there definitely
Yeah.
is, especially now, I think with, everyone is a designer now because they're so, they're looking on Pinterest and they're looking on
Right.
Instagram. So the DIYers, they don't know any better, and they're doing some really creative, spontaneous things. So I do think we're moving in that direction,
And
getting away
I
from the
salute that.
everything
I really salute
matching
that.
and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm.
I think
And your
it's great.
fabrics, one thing I love about your fabrics, even though each one is very different, just seeing them as a collection, it's like you could mix any of them with any other
Oh my
one,
gosh.
and they're all going to go,
And they're all
Well,
gonna,
I think I figured out what that is, and that is that I don't, when I design, I specifically feel inspired to do something or to do some pattern or some funny thing I bought at Brimfield or whatever. I don't try and go to the market. I don't try and think, oh, what's trending at the moment or whatever. And so they very purely come out of my sensibility. And also, I think that the other thing that helps is that I'm very untrained. So, you know, it's a very pure version of what I love in pattern and color. And that's why you can lump them all together.
It's very soulful and joyful. Linda, do you have the image of, it's the Kips Bay Show House, isn't it?
Oh, the Kips Bay Show, huh?
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
I do. It might give me just a
Incredible use
second. I have to
of-
run through a couple here to find it.
No worries. Another,
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. That's one of my favorite tables. So I had to find
There
that
it
table.
is. There it is.
Oh, yes, there we are.
Okay.
Yeah, talk about this space a little bit, Nellie, if you would, please. I love the orange and the pattern.
I was very, I'm a very spongy person, so I have to be very careful. I get influenced by things very easily. And I had just been helping my daughter with her apartment in the West Village. And she's very creative, Gabriella. And so my hubby and I wanted a place to be able to put down our heads. So we said, we'll do this apartment together, but you know, we'll have a nice clean bedroom. Don't let your friends like come and dump their stuff in it. So that was the deal. It actually worked out really well. I don't know if she actually sticks to the plan, but anyway. So we were doing this apartment together, and we spent a lot of times in the vintage stores in Cape Cod. We just love it so much. And we're both collectors. And she said, okay, but I'm in charge. I'm the client. So this was very good for me. I had to listen to my client, my 29-year-old client. And she said, I'm painting my whole apartment red earth by Farrow and Ball. I just absolutely want this cocoon of terracotta. And I was like, I'm not sure, Gabriella. I think it's going to be too much. I think it's going to be too harsh. Granny's dining room was that color in the 70s. You know, isn't it too dated? I don't know. Anyway, she was adamant. So we painted her apartment red earth by Farrow and Ball, and the glow, just the joyfulness of being in that beautiful little terracotta cocoon. And then you can just, it's so good with artwork, and you can layer fabrics and everything. So when I heard that I got a room at Kips Bay, I wanted to use this new fabric and wallpaper of mine, which I'd painted from this beautiful old 18th century bowl that's in my hallway. And I just stole Gabriella's idea and I painted everything. And the closest I could, we had to use Benmore paint. That was the closest I could get to red earth from Farrow and Ball.
Beautiful.
And, you know, just the glow of inside that, and it wasn't a big space that I was given at all. But it went viral because I don't know, people just love the
love color, you know.
The joy of that. It's
Did your
very
daughter
great.
paint her ceiling red as well as all the walls?
Yeah,
Was everything
I
red?
did all the woodwork, the doors, the window frames, and the ceiling all in
Wow.
that color.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
It was lovely.
And what did you call this? Your Mally's happy place or something like
It was
that?
called the sunny spot
The sunny
because
spot.
it was so sunny. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's quite an accolade to get a room in Kips Bay, and
Mhm.
you have to do a good job and really honor it, I think. And you know, they raise money for such an incredible cause. So,
Mhm.
you know, you got to give it your all when you're invited to do a space, and lots of friends, you know, camaraderie. It's show houses are absolutely great, but not, you know, not for getting clients. It's just for all the other things, don't you
Right.
think?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's like a tour space, you get to do what you want,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and so from this time, getting the fabrics going, I mean, there's so much more I could ask you,
Yeah.
but that we don't have enough time.
No,
So
no.
I'm going to move along to your Dole experience and going into the world of furniture.
Oh, my doll experience was, it really came out of, I feel that so many of my joyful little roots through my professional life start with friendships. I mean, like with you guys, you know, we kind of know each other. We have seen each other in real life. We have been through show houses together, when the heading home situation, that fundraiser that we did in Boston. But this was another situation where I was walking through Adam Japko's first Atlanta design, I think it was called Design Bloggers Conference in those days, not Design Influencers Conference. And I saw this young couple and these interesting chairs in one of the booths. You know, they have those marketing booths. And I started chatting to Ray and Joanne. And I just thought they were the nicest young pair. And I loved their story that they'd been to BC and BU, and they wanted to do a startup together as a brother and sister. And then they were like, hold on a minute, our dad has a furniture factory outside of Manila. So, you know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can do that. So I think they'd had one capsule collection with Barbara Hirsch at that stage.
right.
And so we started talking and we became friends, and they just couldn't be more delightful people. And then they said, well, would you like to do a collection with us? And, you know, I thought they'd give me some guidelines. They were like, just design whatever. I'm not good at no guide. I like a good guideline. So, so I walked around my house and I thought, I love this table that I bought from the barn at 17 years and years ago. And I love my ottoman that I bought in London. So that's what I did. I just, I took the pieces that I love in my house and reimagined them for the line. And I mean, it's been such a wonderful experience. I love working with them. I went to Manila before COVID, met their whole family.
Nice.
You know, these experiences are just, they really are treasures that add to your life experience. You always, my mom always said, always say yes, unless you've got a very good reason to say no. And that has been such a good adage for me to live by. You know, just say yes and figure it out later.
We have one more furniture picture, Linda, with the chair and one of my favorite fabrics on it.
Oh, with my Africa collection, the zigzag.
Yes, I use that fabric with as paper for a project. I love that fabric so much.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
great.
And that chair is so comfortable.
Yeah. That was a chair that actually I still own, the real one. And I worked with this young woman, and she'd never designed furniture either. She's an architectural student doing her master's that I had met in Boston. She helped at Heading Home. And Lauren Verdeen, she's just the most gorgeous young woman. And literally the way we designed that furniture, we lay on the floor with a tape measure and a camera and sat on things. And it was an incredibly fun hands-on experience. There was nothing CAD about it. Well, it had to go into a CAD later, but there was a lot of lying on the floor looking up at furniture.
So Mally,
Yeah,
that is gorgeous. But you're so limitless. Your work with the Lennox House, which is an incredible charitable organization. Can you tell us about your recent experience, the table, and let people know what they do?
Well, this is the second table that I did. The first one I did with a sort of South African theme. Lennox House, it was one of the organizations that honestly kept New York going during COVID. They not only do they do housing for the less economically up there people, but they were doing food for shut-ins for old people. I mean, they were taking food to old couples in their buildings. They kept getting the kindergartners together. They were a lifeline for the underserved population of New York. And the woman that just at this Lenox Hill fundraiser got the most unbelievable award, because there was, everyone had not figured it out, and there was really no government support whatsoever. And so they just decided to, save the lives of their own people. It was just so amazing to be involved. They have this tabletop event in Cipriani in Midtown. It's meant to be once a year. And the tables are just absolutely fantastic. I am friends with this Boston floral designer, Jen Figge, who helped us out with Heading Home. I don't know if you remember, she did that one table, the extra table, with all those antique bottles with these beautiful stems. It was the first time I'd seen flowers done in that untraditional way before. Anyway, we made friends, and I asked her if she wanted to do it with me. And she just dove right in. And the theme was Garden of Earthly Delights. And both she and I absolutely love flowers. And so you can't really zoom in on this, but it's like a fairy garden that we created on this table.
It's so beautiful.
And all the little, lots of things came from her garden. Lots of the tables are very va-va-voom, ours was a table where you had to sit down and really take in the details, and people just loved it. And you know what the nicest thing was? A big donor had actually asked for a table of 11. We had to make another little apron for our chairs right in the front, and they emailed me and said they loved sitting at our table.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
I mean, that was, so nice. So
What was
very
going
nice.
on? I'm looking at the trunk. It's a little hard to see. They're all flowers.
She created this this wooden trunk which has moss and flowers woven into it. I cannot tell you how incredible it was.
That's amazing.
And then we have to break it down at midnight when the band stops.
Wow.
Yeah.
The
That
same
is
night as the dinner party?
the same night.
Oh, man.
Cipriani want you out by the next morning.
What
So,
an exhausting day.
if you ever sign up, get some good help, because thank heavens I had my daughter and Jen and Austin, and we were schlepping, and the street outside is just riddled with flowers because the vans are all gone, it just for the trash to take away. It's a absolutely extraordinary experience.
You couldn't have just given them away somehow?
You know what? There's no one around at 1 a.m.
That's true. Oh, wow.
Wow.
But anyway, it's, it's really giving back, and they have a fantastic band. And everyone dances, even though we're on our knees, we're so exhausted. Oh, it was just an incredible experience.
That's great. How many tables are there during
this time there were 42.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Wow.
I mean, it was, if you look on I think House Beautiful, Hadley did an amazing video just going around doing all the tables. Really worth having a look.
Wow. I'll definitely check that out.
And now we've got all those little aprons. So we're going to, I said to Kristen, we've got to have a party in Cape Cod because you can't just use those aprons once.
Right.
That's my new Nantucket fabric on them.
Exactly. And you have to make that wonderful dish you always make that I dream about.
Yeah. Of course.
Of which, Linda, can you get a shot of what I'm going to hold up? Mally's little handbook, if we can.
Did you send me that? No, we can see that. Yeah. Well, let me stop screen sharing. I'm going to stop screen sharing, and then we can bring you up. Then you can see it. All right. There you go.
Oh, now what have you marked in my book?
Oh my gosh, what have I not marked? What have I not marked?
That is so funny.
First, I want to tell you, I bought 2 of these books because I said Mally created a book that I can give to my daughter that she won't take it'll just be like, this is a wonderful way to start your home.
Friendly chat, yeah.
Exactly. But it's Mally's little handbook, and there are so many wonderful things in here. Let me see. But I was talking about one of your dishes.
Yes, my babuti.
Yes, your babuti, and the way you make the table. I mean, I can't go through all these, but can you give everyone just a tip on, because you do talk about entertaining and how your guests should feel.
Yeah.
Just touch on that if you would.
Well, I think the first thing is that effortless entertaining takes a lot of effort.
Right. We all know that, yes.
And if you're going to invite people to your house, like I have decided to have a little drinks party tomorrow night for this one person down here that I made friends with, who just has been so kind to me. And so I was thinking about this champagne cocktail. I don't know why it came to my head. The champagne cocktail that I had in the south of France with the ex-husband. And it is bright pink because it's got squashed raspberries and framboise liqueur in it. And it's called champagne framboise. I've never seen it anywhere else. It popped into my head and I thought I have to make this for the fun cocktail for tomorrow night for my friends that are coming around. So this afternoon when I leave you, I'm going to go and find really nice raspberries and make a coulis and put it through a sieve. And I'm going to get the champagne and see that it's cold. So when they walk in tomorrow, they'll think it just happened, but it doesn't just happen.
Right.
And it's the thought and the effort that is your love that people feel. It can look just very casual and thrown together, but it doesn't really happen by itself. It doesn't. It's the effort that is the gift to your friends.
And you mentioned in the book how that first 5 minutes is so important.
So important that people feel welcomed and like you actually are happy that they're in your house. I think people in the Northeast, that's what I discovered when I moved from London. You know, they're so, people are so busy, you know, getting their masters at Harvard that they've got this whole piece of how to live that is kind of missing. And it's a muscle that you have to use on a kind of regular basis. And I think lots of people after COVID were like, oh God, I don't even know how to have a dinner party, because you sort of forget. So in order to make your guests feel at ease, you have to have a smile on your face. You have to be welcoming and warm, introduce people, don't just go and hide in the corner, because you know your job is not done as they walk in the door.
Right. And don't you think also it's so important just to feel, I mean, I've heard so many times, well, I'm not having people over because the house isn't exactly the way I want it. I have never moved through my life that way.
No.
You are your home. It is about
but also,
you.
I mean, that's such a horrible assumption about people. And I think that is kind of sad for us as designers, because people are reluctant to have you go into their houses when it's not at all about, you know, their house. It's about you going into their space.
That's right.
And, you know, listen, we have seen some stuff in our lives. We have seen some teenage bedrooms that actually are atomic. So you can't shock us at all. Am I right?
You're right.
Absolutely.
And to be honest, the last thing I want to talk about is the house when I'm going to see someone. I want to have real engagement and conversation, because that's what we do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all about that connection and the authenticity of that. And I think that's why I love your book so much, because it is so guttural and so spiritual. It's so you. Mally doesn't know how to do anybody else but Mally. And that's what's so great about you.
And I wrote it so quickly and never knew that it would really get published, because, you know, COVID hit after I'd written it. And who even knew if we were going to have a dinner party ever again, or a guest to come and spend the night. But that is you know, that's that untutored thing, because there are so many really beautiful, highly curated, beautifully photographed books on entertaining that my friends have put together. But I just knew that I didn't want it to be that. I didn't want it to feel intimidating at all. I wanted it to feel, that's why I chose it, to do it illustrated, like you could imagine it in your life. Because even I feel despondent sometimes when I read these decorating books or entertaining books, and I'm like, I could never do that. Or why is her house so nice? Or, you know, those sort of things. It's easy to feel lesser when you look at other people's what looks like perfect lives. So with illustration, it's just a prompt, which I think is much easier for people to digest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's an example of some illustrations from the book. I mean, how great. Wonderful is that? And, you know, and it's an image that's always in my phone from the camera shot that I took that I used to.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you walked through my entrance hall. It looks just like that.
I have kept that picture for how many years, because I love going through those doors and that entrance hall and those shades with that. I mean, it's just walking into your, and the beautiful thing about that home was, Mally, is that as grand as it was not grand in a pretentious way. It was just beautifully done. It
And
was
very
beautiful.
comfortable. It was
I
very,
think
I remember
very
being
comfortable,
comfortable.
yes. And also I think if it's gone through the lens of what you think is important to be in your life, and sometimes you do end up with some ugly stuff that you bought and you sort of, I don't know what I was thinking, or, you know, that your mother-in-law gave you or whatever. Those layers are important because you know, you'll look at a photograph of some amazing interior of some incredible Park Avenue apartment, and everything is perfect, and it doesn't speak to you. I mean, it kind of collapses on its own weight because individually everything is so perfect that there's no juxtaposition. And I think that where interior design is going now, and it's influence up from the millennials, is they like the journey. My daughter found these little needlepoint pillows that I was going to just put into, you know, the Goodwill that I'd made in flame stitch when I was pregnant with my children. And I thought they were hokey. She grabbed them and put them on her sofa. She was like, "You made these when you were pregnant with us?" That has transformed interior design because they are only interested in meaningful stuff.
Yes, which is a good thing.
It's a very, very good thing. And usually the influence comes down from the top, but it's trickling up from the bottom now. And our children can teach us a lot, you know, about recycling and the circular economy.
They're paying attention.
They are paying attention, and they're teaching us.
And they're teaching us. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So should we try to, I see that Leslie Carruthers was there, but I don't know.
There?
Yeah,
Shelley is here. Do you want to see if Shelley has any questions?
Yeah.
Shelley,
Guys,
if you want to unmute yourself, if you have any questions for Mally.
Let's see if I can even answer.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Let me get out of my
Perfect.
Hello, hold on. I have to figure out my, hold on, sorry. Okay.
Hi, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for your conversation and questions. I've enjoyed listening along.
Great. And any question for Mally at all? Or are you just joining us?
I was just enjoying, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
So I was like out gardening all day, and so I was
nice.
to listen.
I have one question.
I have one question for you, Mally. What's next on Mally's adventure? What's the next chapter?
Oh God, that's what Kristen asked me the other day. I never know what's going to pop into my brain. David and I are going to put some roots down here, and we are building what will be our family house, because, you know, we want somewhere that everyone can come and stay. And strangely enough, I feel, even though, you know, South Africa is important to me, and I feel like I've found my spot here. I've made great friends, and I'm ready to just put down some nice roots and spend more time here. And so we are starting, well, we're in the process of designing a house together.
Oh, nice. That's very exciting.
The marriage gets tested from time to time.
Will you keep your house in South Africa?
I'm actually going out at Christmas time because I have to shut that chapter. I don't know if we're going to sell it. My family enjoys it a lot, but I have to just go to play it and sort of say goodbye to my mum in my brain.
Yep.
So it's going to be hard. I'm sort of not looking forward to it, but I don't want to be fearful about it.
Right.
So my husband's very encouraging. He's like, it's probably going to be much easier than you think, but I've been away for such a long time. And, you know, I don't know. I don't want to look backwards at all, but I just need to have some closure.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We might just, you know, my South African family enjoy the house a lot. So it has life in it. But I'm sort of disappointed with South Africa. They're not running the country well, and it's upsetting for me, to tell you the honest truth, because, you know, my generation, white South Africans, we got arrested for those people, for the freedom fighters. And they just, I don't know, they're not behaving very well. So it's very complicated, the whole South African situation. So
well, they're not alone.
I was going to say the U.S. isn't behaving very well right now either.
We aren't either.
Everyone sit in the corner.
So what are you guys? What is this? Is this going to be your new thing, your podcast? I love it. Or whatever it's called. What's it called?
Yeah.
A Zoom?
I guess it's a webcast.
A webcast.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, you know, this started with the thing we were doing on Instagram, but it was very technically hard to do it and keep it going without all the glitches. Yeah. So this kind of evolved into a place to meet online, to inspire and support each other. And we're looking forward to the next step, which is eventually we'll be doing retreats and stuff for wellness and all kinds of topics.
Lovely. Great.
You know, so, and we'll see where that takes us.
Well, you'll probably see me down at the Cape, because Kristen's definitely, you know, brewing something up for over the summer.
Great.
Awesome.
I'd love to see you. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. So I have one last question.
Yes.
You have the energy.
Yes.
At this point, what's the one thing? This is how we close everyone. What's the one thing you would tell your younger self?
The one thing I would tell my younger self would be to trust my instinct more, and to be kinder to myself. You know, we're very hard on ourselves, especially, I think, our 30s, women in their 30s, with you just trying to be the perfect mother and the perfect hostess, and you fit in and, you know, look good and be thin, and it's a terrible grind when I think about it. I mean, I was hungry all the time to be a size 6 or whatever I needed to be. What a waste. It's so sad to think back on those times, that relentlessly reaching for something that, you know, for other people to remark on your so this or that. Yeah, be kinder to yourself. You know, have that treat, and everything doesn't have to be perfect. It leads you down some very dark roads, actually,
right.
When you're trying to be a perfect person or have a perfect life.
Yeah, there's no such thing, is there?
No, definitely
Thank
not.
Thank you, my dear. It was just good to see
you.
It
was lovely, lovely to chat.
Yeah, you were just wonderful, and come back anytime.
No, we can't thank you enough, Mally.
And
hopefully we'll see you this summer down in the Cape. That would be awesome.
We'll figure something out.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Linda, so much. That was
Bye,
fun.
Michelle. Thanks for
Bye,
joining
darling.
us, Shelley.